It is now my privilege to introduce the second speaker. Ms. Audrey Wong is an advanced practice nurse in the Department of Psychiatry in Tan Tock Seng Hospital. She has been in this calling for 20 years and cares for people with mental health needs. She shares that her joy is seeing people overcome the struggles of the mind. She believes that she has become a better person, a better nurse, through the people she has had the opportunity to serve and through their individual stories. We are excited to hear her talk titled today, Depression and Anxiety, Are They the Same? Ms. Audrey?
Hello everyone, good afternoon. I'm just going to share screen to show you my slides. Can you see my slides? Can? Alright. So thank you for having me here. I'm just going to run through the topic on depression and anxiety. Maybe a bit overlapping with what Uncle Tianxin has shared just now, but it's okay. We will just run through briefly. Okay. So I think before we start, I would like to encourage you all to participate actively. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay. So the how I'm going to run this is it's the sequence where I will try to clarify any myths and also to share some facts about mental health problems. I'm going to go through a bit of depression and anxiety, and I will share about what do we do to treat all these underlying issues and when to seek help. So before we start, is it okay that I get all of you to use your phone to just scan this QR code, or if you like, you can go to menti.com and just enter this code 9761962267, or you can go to the direct URL. You will be able to see this. So basically what I'm trying to capture is I wanted all of us here on the audience to use one word to describe about what they know about mental illness. I'll give you all some time, then I'll show you the results of what our participants have been sharing so far. Okay, let's see. Okay. Could you all see the input so far? It has been good. Oh, right. I see these words. It has been difficult. It has been unfamiliar. It has been challenging. Oh yes, it has been chemical imbalance. Okay. Unfamiliar. Isolating. Oh yes. Chemical imbalance, disorder, emotions, unfamiliar, strange. Oh yeah. Complication. Yes. There's a taboo. All right. That's a taboo as well. Yeah. And of course, it's a sickness, psychological, yeah. Okay, so I think most of us are kind of like understood what is mental health all about. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the teaching proper so that to help us understand about these two mental health problems. Okay, so we have seen so let's clarify some myths first. I think a lot of us kind of probably it's also portrayed in the media that a lot of us have this idea that people with mental health problems are often violent and unpredictable. But the fact is, actually, a majority of them who suffer from mental health problems are not as violent as anyone else. So let's go through the second myth. People with mental health needs including those who are trying to manage their mental health problems, cannot tolerate the stress of holding a job. Okay, the fact is, people with mental health problems can be as productive as other employees. Okay, the only thing is that employers who hire these people, they will find that actually a lot of times people with mental health problems, they tend to be very on time. They're very punctual. They are very motivated, and usually they do keep up a good work. And in fact, on par with many others. All right. How about this? Personality weakness or character flaws causes mental health problems. People who are with mental health problems can snap out of it as if they try hard enough. I think many a times we really hear a lot from our patients' family. They will tell us, snap it off, you'll be okay. It's just gonna be alright. But actually, it's not that lah. Why it is so is because a lot of times mental health problems, yeah, they do have what we call the biological factors. It could be in their genes, it could be due to a physical illness, for example, like diabetes that is poorly controlled, or there's some kind of injury or brain chemistry. I think like one of our audience mentioned, right? There's a chemical disorders, or there is a family history of a mental health problems. Studies have shown that mental health problems do run in the family, unfortunately, but so therefore history is quite important to us to let us know what are the underlying family problems they may have. Okay, so but at the end of the day, I just want to share that people with mental health problems can get better, and many of them actually do recover as well. All right, the final myth. I can't do anything for a person with mental health problems. That is not true. I think most of us are here because we have someone that who probably has some underlying mental health problems that we are trying to reach out to, or even ourselves, we find that we are going through some emotional issues. But I would like to encourage you all to share that. In fact, your friends, your family members are important because they will help you to get the right treatment and also to let you access to the right services. So reach out, let them to know that you're available to help them to access to mental health services here in Singapore. Share with them what you know and learn about mental health problems, especially nowadays when we Google, right, we find a lot of things that can be so untrue, can be so scary. Yeah, so find out the facts instead, then you educate them to let them know that, hey, this is the thing, then we can direct the help all they need. Yeah, of course we want to treat them with respect, just like anyone else, to let them know that, hey, you know that it is okay, we are here for you, we are here as family, we are here as friends. And sometimes because they already have an underlying diagnosis, a lot of times they'll tell you, oh, actually I have depression, but I'm too ashamed, I do not like to let people know that I have depression. So what we can do as a loved one, we will refuse to define them by their diagnosis or using labels on them. Alright, so I'll go through the topic formal. So what is really mental health? I think it's important to know what mental health is all about. It is a state of physical, mental and social well-being. Most of us here are able to cope with normal stresses in life, able to produce work productively, able to contribute to our community, and also to realize our own strengths and weakness. You will realize that a person with mental health problems may find it difficult to do so. How about in Singapore? What is the Singapore situation here? Let me share with you on a recent mental health studies. You'll know that 1 in 7 person here in Singapore will have experienced a mental disorder in their lifetime. As of 2019, which is about 2 years ago, the top 5 mental health conditions that we kind of know among Singaporeans are depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, and substance abuse. So now we're going to just watch a short video about people with mental health conditions. I think this is a very interesting video. It may help to share what is it like for people who have mental health problems.
Lifelines, no.
How do you feel being diagnosed with a mental health condition?
I would say it was not that big of a surprise.
There was a lot of self-deprecation and hate.
I think I just went home and locked myself up in the room.
I was able to accept it. I was a psychology major, but it took me a while to be aware that I have it.
Does it run in the genes?
That's an age-old question. It runs in my family, definitely. So I was losing my mind and I didn't understand myself, why I couldn't breathe. I felt I was going to die. But your brain sort of tells you, and your body is telling you that you're dying, but you're not.
Both of us will experience it very different. Hearing voices or seeing hallucinations, and I heard voices. Yeah, so
Must be very scary.
yeah.
I'm going to pause here. I think some of you can't see my video. Let me try again.
Diagnosed with a mental health condition.
I would say it was not that big of a surprise.
There was a lot of self-deprecation and hate.
I think I just went home and locked myself up in the room.
I was able to accept it. I was a psychology major, but it took me a while to be aware that I have it.
Does it run in the genes?
Age-old question. It runs in my family, definitely. So I was losing my mind and I didn't understand myself, why I couldn't breathe. I felt I was going to die. But your brain sort of tells you, and your body is telling you that you're dying, but you're not.
Both of us, we experience it very differently. The main symptoms are, hearing voices or seeing hallucinations, and I heard voices. Yeah, so
Must be very scary.
yeah, I guess. But I think my parents were like suspecting like, oh, I got a third eye or something. But very specifically, it was telling me that the people around me were going to hurt me. How did you break the news to your family and friends? I told my aunt specifically, don't tell my parents. And then the next day, my parents just came into my room and like,
It just was so apparent because of the symptoms and that I was in hospital. And yeah, I have a mental health issue. I have no qualms or concerns about opening up, because if I feel shy to say it, then I'm self-stigmatizing, so I don't want to do that.
So sharing your life with someone is not impossible, but it takes a lot of communication and understanding from the other person as well, a lot of empathy. Did you disclose your mental health condition to your employer?
I feel that the moment you say that you suffer from these conditions, people just think a bit lesser of you.
And that is the scary thing. You stigmatize when you don't interact, you choose not to employ, choose to make assumptions. That stigma can be very silent.
They should ask, do you have cancer, do you have diabetes, do you have asthma, all that, then they also should ask.
It's good that some of my colleagues know, and I hope to inspire one person by being vulnerable myself. That's what I can offer that person, is that you are not alone, because if it's something as serious as causing someone's life to be taken, I think it's serious enough to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I'll stop the video here in view of time. Let me go back to the slides. Alright, so there you are. You have seen videos done by Singaporeans who actually have mental health problems. So now I'm just going to run through depression quickly. So what is depression? In what we are taught in school, there are different categories of depression. So if you look at this chart here, you will see that there is this thing called the major depressive disorder, persistent depressive disorder. You have bipolar depression, you have postpartum depression, you have premenstrual dysphoric disorders, you have seasonal affective disorders, and atypical depression. But today at this platform, I'm just going to share about major depressive disorders, because I think this is the most common topic that we should know. So, but before we go there, we must be able to know what is depression and sadness. I think there are many times, especially in every one of us here, actually, from time to time, we will have these bouts of sadness. But these bouts of sadness will somehow go away, because we know that the feelings, the sadness is temporary, and tough times will pass. However, a person with depression, it's not so. Usually these feelings of sadness, hopelessness and worthlessness can occur over a prolonged period, and it could be crippling because it interferes with their day-to-day living. So what is major depressive disorder? In Singapore itself, there is a studies done to show that 1 in 16 Singaporeans will go through having this experience at least once in their lifetime. Meaning, it can only say that the major depressive disorder is that common here in Singapore. And what is it categorized by is about feeling very depressed, okay, and also to experience other symptoms of depression daily for at least 2 weeks. So what are the other symptoms? Essentially, you feel sad, you feel guilty, or you feel that you are so helpless, you can't do anything. You feel that you are having this very poor self-esteem, that you no longer feel that you are worthy to be living, worthy to be a person. There are many times when you talk to them, they either don't sleep very well, which is the insomnia, or they end up sleeping excessively. There are also a group of people who will start to tell you that, I lost interest in things that I usually enjoy. For example, I used to like to go out to shop, but now I just prefer to stay at home. I don't have the drive, I don't have the energy to get out of home. Or sometimes they'll tell you that actually because I'm not eating, the appetite is so poor, they end up losing weight. Or because they have such a increase in the appetite, they end up putting on weight as well. When you talk to them, you'll find that they have difficulty concentrating. Sometimes they can get very distracted, they cannot remember details, and their decision making can be impaired as a result because of the poor concentration. And many a times they will have digestive problems. You'll find that either they are like bloated all the time, they have stomach ache, and even with treatment, it still happens. There are quite a fair bit of a person with mental, especially with depression, they will present to us with physical aches. They will tell you here pain, there pain, head pain, wherever pain. But when you went to investigate, do a thorough medical examination, you will find that there's nothing to suggest the cause of all these aches and pains. Yeah. Sometimes a lot of patients, they will feel that because their life is so worthless, they feel so sad all the time, they couldn't bring themselves up, they will entertain suicidal thoughts, and sometimes they may end up doing it as well. Okay, a person who is depressed, they will often present to you with they really are very pessimistic in what they view. Their worldview is very pessimistic, and many a times they can be quite irritable, and also they can be quite restless. Yeah, so these are the typical signs. So other than feeling depressed, they also need to at least have a few other symptoms here that's presented, 5 or more, so that we can know that this is a major depressive disorder. All right, now what about anxiety? So I think we need to differentiate what is anxiety disorder versus anxious behavior. I do know there are people around me, and sometimes myself also, I can get anxious easily. And does that warrant a diagnosis of a disorder? So let me share with you how we can differentiate between an anxiety disorder versus a behavior. So I think typically all of us here will go through stress, which is actually a normal reaction to a stressful situation or pressure. Yeah, and generally it's acceptable, and also sometimes stress can be a good use, right? That it will motivate us to get things done, or to for example, even like going for a job interview, it may be a very stressful event, but it's a good stress. It's not like a bad stress that cause you to like freak out totally, that you can't even talk, you know. So um I also want to share that whenever we are under stress, sometimes our body, right, will let you know that, hey, you're feeling a bit different, you know, there's something going on. Yeah. And as a result, if these symptoms, for example, the anxiety becomes so extreme, lasting more than 6 months, and in fact, it was so bad that it interferes with our day-to-day activities, we will know that this is actually a disorder. Yeah, and sometimes what happen is because this disorder comes where there is such a feeling of like a doom, something bad that is going to happen, or you have become very alert, hyper alert that something bad is going to happen, or you just feel very overwhelmed with anxiety without knowing what is the cause. So this is how we differentiate anxiety disorder versus a behavior. So what are classic symptoms of anxiety disorders? Usually this group of people, they feel nervous, they feel restless, and feel tense. So typically they are the kanchong, very kanchong people. You talk to them, you don't really understand that because they talk very fast, and then sometimes they're very sweaty. Then sometimes their body movement will be very, will tell you that, you know, they are like wringing their hands, you know, and they don't, they're just like very restless and very intense sometimes. And sometimes they tell you that, oh, the world is coming, it's like they are in your world, the day is coming to the end, you know. And sometimes they talk very fast, okay, and sometimes they'll be sweating, and sometimes they tell you that, you know, they can't sleep. Yeah, they can't concentrate at work as well. And sometimes, a lot of times, they do have a gastrointestinal problem, and also they tend to have the urge to avoid anxiety triggers. Yeah, for example, if they know that going to maybe like going to the supermarket is a very stressful event, they will end up not going at all. So they may end up just don't eat because it's too much for them to step out from the house to face the crowded supermarket. So as a result, they will just stay put at home. And I do have recently, I got one patient who came in very thin because of COVID. She was not able to step out of her house. She had OCD, but the OCD was so bad that it just causes her not to be able to step out from the house. And she didn't want to see the people, she didn't want to touch the dirt, and she was also worried about getting COVID. So when she came in to us, she lost about 10 kg. So it's the kind of disorder that we can see often. Yeah. So I just want to share with you about this Angmo celebrity, how he also talked about his anxiety disorder. Okay. Wait ah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let me go to this fellow. His name is
Kevin Love revealed his struggle with panic attacks. And as we were talking about it around the table, Carson, you shared your own story and experience with anxiety.
Unexpectedly inspired by that Kevin Love story. It's something that I can't change about myself. In fact, it's okay. I've learned to embrace it. And hopefully, by just being honest and maybe opening up, it'll inspire others to do the same. Looking back on my life, I was a worrywart kid. I was always worrying. My father died when I was 5. I had an ulcer when I was in high school. I've been nervous my whole life. My very first panic attack happened, and by the way, I didn't know what it was at the time, happened when I was a host at MTV.
Welcome to the show, Total Request Live.
The success of my career, I mean, I moved to New York and my life changed overnight. I had a hard time breathing. I was terrified for no apparent reason. At times, I feel like there's a saber-toothed tiger right here, and it is going to kill me, attack me, and bite my head off. I'm scared as if that's really happening. You feel like you're dying. In fact, I went to the hospital, and the first thing you put it on, I got leads on my chest. I'm like, my heart's going to stop. I'm gonna have a heart attack. And of course, what happens is you're perfectly fine. To this day, even when I'm on television, if you ever watch The Voice live on NBC, watch on a Monday or Tuesday nights, I'm never still. It's the same thing on Today's Show in the morning. I mean, some days I'm just a little anxious. And you'll see me. I mean, you could be able to tell. You'll see me, I'm fidgeting. People think, you know, they hear, oh, he's anxiety, you know, he's on high pressure life, you know, they're on television. It has nothing to do with that. I've had heightened anxiety and mild panic attacks at the playground with my own children and wife there, and the feeling was so gripping, so terrifying that I literally had to leave and excuse myself. I've done relaxing things like I rode my motorcycle across the country to find some relaxing time and had, you know, panic-stricken moments in that. This is the way I was born. This is the way I'm hardwired. This is kind of the downside of the way God made me, and there's a tremendous upside as well. I'm very sensitive. I love music, and music moves me in a very visceral way, physically. So I get the chills when I hear, you know, certain music, definitely like soul music. When I'm with my family and it's a euphoric moment, those things resonate to me very, very deeply. And that's a beautiful thing because I feel so much love and empathy and compassion. And that's just the flip side to a lot of the anxiety. I don't walk around every day, you know, a nervous wreck. I don't want people to watch this and think like, are you okay? Are you freaking out right now? It's like, no, I'm good. You know, they'll watch this piece and go, well, how do you fix himself? How do you fix it? Because we live in that world where, what do you take? I'll take that too. It's not that simple. What helped me was talking to a friend once who said, everything you're experiencing, I have too. You have anxiety. You should go talk to somebody about it. And I'm like, it's a thing? Anxiety's a thing? I thought it was like stress, like not really a thing. I opted for a cognitive therapist, somebody who really teaches you kind of about anxiety, the model of it, and offers you tools on how to kind of, you know, work through it. So the muscle retention, relaxation really helps me. I'll do one now. This will actually help me because I'm nervous doing this interview. So I'm gonna clench my fists and my arms and my biceps as hard as I can, like I'm lifting a weight. Wow, that felt great, like an ocean of relaxation. I mean, I really wear the way I am like a badge of honor. This is who I am.
All right, so for some of us who might not know him, he's actually a TV host in the US. So it was interesting to of more celebrities actually being diagnosed with mental health problems, and he is one of them who actually came forth to share about his journey of recovery. Yep, all right. Okay, so I'm just going to share about, there are also different subtypes of anxiety disorder, just like with depression. So here we're going to talk about generalized anxiety disorder, and also another one that I think is quite important to talk about is this disorder called obsessive compulsive disorders. Panic disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, and social anxiety disorder is not very common, but on and off sometimes we do see patients coming on with it. But in view of time, again, I'm just going to share GAD and also OCD. Okay, so what is GAD? So GAD, these are the classical signs and symptoms. A lot of times they will tell you that they have a lot of worry. They are always very anxious. They get very tired. And sometimes when you talk to them, they are very irritable. They don't sleep very much. They have poor concentration, and many a times they feel very restless. And because of that, they are always so tense, right? You will know that there are many a times they will present with muscle aches and very sore because they are always so uptight. Yeah. And also I want to talk about OCD as well, which is another spectrum of anxiety disorder. I think a lot of times we tend to use these terms quite loosely. We'll say, hey, you're so OCD, you're so cleanliness freak, or you're a tidy freak, you know. But what is really OCD? There are many different categories that we know of. It's not just about fear of dirt, which can happen where they tend to get themselves like they feel that they need to wash all the time or they need to clean all the time. But there are different kinds of OCD as well, where hoarding is one classical example where people started to hoard things in their house. When you visit their home, their house is full of for example, newspaper, full of cardboards, full of plastic bags, and you wonder why are they keeping this in their house, which can pose a fire hazard as well. Some patients, or rather, sorry, some persons will actually will be so obsessed about symmetrical things, so they have to be a certain length, a certain pattern that they have to do. For example, like how they tidy things at home, it has to have a certain order. Once you change that order, they get very irritable, they shout at you, they were like, hey, you know why you touch my thing and you mess up everything, although you realize actually the change is not much, but they catch it anyway, huh? So they will tend to be quite this they will tend to be quite how to say, they can be quite a challenge, because when you try to correct them, they will get very very defensive, and sometimes they can be quite angry as well. Of course, there are also, because of this recent COVID situation, we do have a few of them who actually do present with a lot of fear of catching COVID, or fear of contamination, fear of having germs. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to talk about how do we treat this group of people, person with depression, person with anxiety. So the mainstream how we go about is we will get help. We will get professional help to assess their mental health problems, to find out what exactly is the problem. Is it a depression, or is it an anxiety, or is a psychotic disorders that can also present first with depression and anxiety, or there's something going on that not really in keeping with a psychiatric condition. It could be a medical problem that cause the psychiatric symptoms as well. So many a times a proper assessment is needed to know what is the problem, what causes it first. Then we can appropriately administer the treatment. So the treatment can be in terms of medication, antidepressant, anti-anxiety to stabilize the mood, and sometimes if needed we can give a dose of antipsychotics. And sometimes sleep is an issue, we will also give some sleeping agents as well to help them sleep through. When we don't sleep, our body does break down, and then we can get moody, we can get quite angry, and then our anxiety can worsen as well. So the psychological therapy that can come in a package where we call it a psychotherapy is basically like a talking therapy, that we will deal with what is really the trouble. Why are they, like for example, so depressed? Was there a life problem? For example, maybe they were going through a life events, for example, divorce, or the loss of a loved one. Yeah, so we will help them to process those emotions, to deal with the underlying grief, for instance, underlying loss, and help them to work through their problems. And hopefully, while working with them through these problems, we can generate some solutions, some skills to help them cope with this current situation. And hopefully, in future, if any stressors were to come again, they are more equipped now. They will know what will work for them and how to them get through their challenges. Sometimes, if needed, they may need to be hospitalized to get treatment. The reason why the need to come to the hospital for treatment is, for example, if they are so depressed, they are not eating at all, they are not drinking at all, they are not sleeping at all, it is not too good to prolong that condition, because they will, the more you come earlier for treatment, the more easier they can get recover better. And sometimes the medication, for example, the antidepressant does take a while. It's not like taking Panadol. Like for example, now you have a headache, you take a Panadol, take 2 Panadols, half an hour later your headache will go away. Depression, for example, with antidepressant does take at least 2 weeks for it to work. So many a times, a lot of people may not understand that, hey, I need to stay in the hospital because the medication does take time. And sometimes our patients will say, oh, no, I'm good, good to go. But the problem is we do not think that the medication has started the effect yet. So I think therefore the need for inpatient stay does to monitor the mental health problems, the response to medication, and sometimes the need for psychotherapy, which can be done as inpatient as well. So there is always a reason why a person may need to be in the hospital in that sense. The last intervention that we often talk about is the neurostimulation intervention, which is electrical convulsive therapy, where a person will be put to a very short induced sleep to induce a current through their brain. We believe that this will cause the brain chemicals to sort of like jerk up a bit, and then sometimes we see patients do respond quite well with this kind of neurostimulation interventions. Again, I know that if you Google it, you can see a lot of scary videos on all this, but I assure you that it is safe, and it is usually a lot of our patients do respond well as well. So this is one of the oldest treatment, in fact, the ECT itself. Yeah. All right, so let's go a bit further. Like, how do we help someone with mental health problems? I think it's not easy task to do. As we saw earlier on in the Mentimeter, we know that it's challenging. It can be quite scary because we do not know what to say or how to respond, or in fact we also don't know how to comfort in that certain stance. So how can we help? Firstly is to provide emotional support. I think support can be many ways. Emotional support is like, for example, you really make them important. You give them the time with no distractions. I think many a times we are very busy with phone nowadays, and then we end up not having the eye contact, even though we may be physically with the person, but because we are so caught up with other things, the person who is the other end may feel that, what's the point of you spending time with me? You are not really being with me, So I strongly encourage that whenever we want to help this group of person, we should always make time intentionally. And of course, we want to be non-judgmental as well, just to hear them, what is really the problem, what is going on, and how would they want to be helped. Yeah. And also, I think point number 2 is important, that we do not give them solution. I think many a times we are very quick to like, hey, this one is not good, better go and see a doctor, come just go, or snap it out, it will be okay, don't think about it anymore, everything will be okay. I think a lot of times it's not helpful, because you realize that that's not what they want to hear. That's not what they want to hear. They don't want to have any more pressure. They sometimes they feel that I don't want to talk. And sometimes we just give them the space, give them the in fact the moments to be silent. And I think that the need to be able to stay silent is very powerful. And sometimes if they know that, yes, no words, but you are there, and I think that speaks a huge support in that sense, because you are present with them. Yeah, we don't have to talk non-stop. I think a lot of times they don't want to hear that. It's just being there. Like, for example, you buy them nice food to eat. You offer them, shall I do this grocery for you? Can I do this for you? Cleaning of the house, for instance. I think these are practical tips that will really, really help them to know that, hey, you really do care for them, that you are there for them. Yeah, and sometimes if they are okay to talk, then you can ask them open-ended questions. You don't ask them, you feeling sad, is it? So the response will be no, but actually they do feel sad. So you can ask things in an open manner, that saying that, I can see that you're feeling sad. Would you tell me what is going on your side? Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So of course, in order to help this group of people, we must know where to get help. Yeah. If not, we are also quite stuck. So however, if you realize that they are in danger, do not hesitate to get help, to escalate the help basically. To bring them to see a doctor, go to any A&E. If needed, there's always helplines available with the Samaritan of Singapore, commonly known as SOS, or the Institute of Mental Health. Okay, so the last few slides that I have, caring for someone with mental health problems can be challenging. A caregiver is not easy. I believe that a caregiver is also going through a lot, just like the one who is going through the condition. Yeah, I think whenever we face caregivers who are burnt out, especially they like prolong taking care of a person with mental health problems, I usually will advise them, hey, why don't you start taking care of yourself, especially when the patient is here in the hospital, the person comes to the hospital to stay. I'll tell them, hey, why don't you have a time out, Why don't you go back, sleep, do something nice for yourself, get yourself recharged again. And sometimes being aware that moment, the timeout is important, because they will recuperate, they will get their sanity back in that sense, and they will recharge themselves. And then that's when they can continue the journey together once they are feeling good. Yeah, very important that if you need to know that when you are burning out, when you feel that this is overwhelming, it's too much for me, and it's important that, hey, this is your limit already, you need to reach out for help. Yeah. All right, I like this slide to conclude. I like this slide to talk about what is really, how do we really differentiate a person who is really depressed, a person who is anxious, but yet a person who is actually being in balance, where they are actually being alive. So I feel that when a person who is depressed, usually they don't have enough energy. Yeah. A person who is anxious, wow, they always have this restlessness in them. Okay, this is their energy, the very restless energy. A person who is well, who is emotionally stable, they usually are quite responsive, they're quite calm. A depressed person usually will tell you that I got no emotion, I don't feel anything. So they will tell you they feel quite numb. Or an anxious person will tell you that they have instability. They feel that one moment they're up, one moment they are down, and one moment they're irritable. So it's quite a mix altogether. A person who is balanced will be able to find meaning in life. They will be able to be continue to be flexible. They will stay very curious. They will have purposeful ideas in their lives. For a depressed person, it's a different thing. They will just feel that nothing is holding them. There's no more meaning in their life. Yeah. On the other hand, an anxious person can feel very obsessed about what is going on, everything else in their life. Yeah. So I think this is actually a very I feel it's a very useful chart for us to kind of differentiate, to let us know whether this is a depressed person or this is an anxious person. Yeah, so I hope that this slides has been helpful. So that's all I have for you all to this afternoon, and these are my references.